Okay, welcome back to Truck on the 7 Seas. This is episode number 41, and in this episode, we're going to go over week 11 of the Night Transportation Lease Operator Program. It's a fairly short week because we end up taking the vehicle in for a B service, but other than that, it's fairly smooth sailing. If you are new to this channel, welcome. I started this channel in order to show exactly what truck drivers make. We started as a company driver working for Night Transportation, then we entered into a lease for Night Transportation, and I show all of the loads I take, how much they pay, what my expenses were, what my revenue was, and what my net cash flow was, and I compile all of this information and I put it into a spreadsheet that I share with you at the end of every video. So if this is a topic that interests you, follow the channel. But last episode we left off in Manteca, California, so we grabbed a load in Manteca, California, and we're headed to Aurora, Colorado. Let's go. Okay, so we dropped the load out in Aurora, Colorado. Then we got dispatched on another one picking up in Boulder, Colorado, and headed to Tucson, Arizona. Let's go. Okay, so after the Tucson, Arizona load, we got dispatched on another one picking up in Tucson, Arizona, and headed to Phoenix, Arizona. And while we're in Phoenix, I called up the lease coordinator and asked if I could take the vehicle in about 1,000 miles early for the B service. So you're supposed to be at 28,500 miles or something like that before you can get a B service. I was at 27,000 miles, so I called him up and said, hey, I'm right there. And he said, yeah, we're good. So I'm taking it in for a B service. And I'm also going to have the DPF inspected, and I'm going to have a very slow coolant leak looked at as well. So we're going to do that, and because of that, the Phoenix, Arizona load is going to be the last load on this paycheck, so it's spreadsheet time. For week 11, we did 3 loads, and in those 3 loads we got 2,331 miles. We were paid a total of $3,755 for an average of $1.61 per mile. Fuel expenses, we fueled 5 times, and in those 5 times we paid $1,463 for an average of 63 cents per mile. There were no maintenance expenses this week. So the maintenance that I'm currently having done is not going to make this paycheck. It'll probably make the next one, or maybe the one after. I'm not 100% sure, but either way, it's not on this one. It'll probably be on a later paycheck. Well, definitely will be on a later paycheck, so that's with that. Other expenses, MRP 116, Qualcomm 13, Bobtail 692, physical damage 69, occupational accident policy 34, permits 42, pre-pass 350, truck payment 450, scales 1350, fuel mile tax $69.93, lease security deposit $100 for a total of $919 for an average of 39 cents per mile. Weekly totals, so expenses were $2,382 for an average of $1.02 per mile. Revenue was $3,755 for an average of $1.61 per mile. That brings our net settlement to $1,373 for an average of 59 cents per mile. So total since starting the program, we've driven a total of 24,826 miles, and our total expenses were $25,288 for an average of $1.02 per mile, and that is my cost per mile right there. Total revenue was $42,973 for an average of $1.73 per mile. Net cash flow was $17,684 for an average of 71 cents per mile. If I had been a company driver during this period, I would have made $13,406 at 54 cents per mile. And if I had been an owner-operator who owned his own vehicle, I would have made $22,634 at 91 cents per mile. Averages and other information. Average weekly paycheck is $1,607. Average weekly miles is 2,257. Total fuel cost is $14,007 for an average of 56 cents per mile. Total maintenance costs were $1,988 for an average of 8 cents per mile. If I kept this up for a 52-week period, I'd make $83,600 and I'd get 117,000 miles. I've been employed 77 days or 11 weeks, taken 10 days off, 67 days on duty, 44 total loads for an average load length of 564 miles. And here you can just see a graph of the weekly pay versus company lease volatility graph. That's what we're going to call it. So lease is red, company's blue, and you can just see the volatility of the lease compared to a company driver. Company driver is a little more stable, whereas a lease operator is a little more volatile. And just a note, in some weeks, here, and here, I did in fact make less than a company driver, but the overall has been much higher because of weeks like this. So, and this week right here, this past week, it was basically the same. So, just a note there, you know, a lease operator or an owner operator tends to be a lot more volatile. So, and below that, you can see total company pay versus total lease pay. So this shows the pay in aggregate over the entire 11 weeks. So, you know, lease operator, which is in red, has been consistently making more than a company driver. And, you know, here it was almost the same, but then it started to take off a little bit more. And as of right now, that's where we're sitting at. And this number is also right here. So, total pay for a lease operator is $17,000, whereas a company driver would have made $13,000, and that's the last data point right here. And it just shows each week in aggregate what the company pay would have been versus the lease pay. And so far, the lease operator is making more than a company driver. Okay, yeah, so there is week 11. That was a fairly slow week. So we took the vehicle in to the Phoenix shop and had a B service done. And I also had them take a look at my DPF and then look at a coolant leak, very, very slow coolant leak that I was having. So they did that, and that took a few days. So I turned it in Friday and then got it out Monday and then took a load Tuesday of this week. So that maintenance period will interfere with both this paycheck and next paycheck. So as I'm filming it right now, it's the next paycheck, and I can tell you it's going to be a very slow week next week. So, you know, just be prepared for that. Because of the maintenance period, it took like 3 days or something like that. And I went home during that period as well. So, you know, it is what it is. You know, you do have to take the vehicle in and get an oil change every now and then, and it's just going to take some time. So I had them look at the DPF as well. So I wanted to, you know, just to see what the ash level looked like on the DPF. So they did it, and it came back as 25% full, which is not a lot at all. So that's actually pretty good. So as a reminder, this was a port vehicle for night transportation, so it worked in the Los Angeles ports, and it had pretty high idle time. When I picked it up, the idle time was averaging like 16 or 17 miles per hour, which is very low. Normally you'd want at least 30. So even though this thing has 130,000 miles on it, it has idle time closer to something with 250 to 300,000 miles, which, yeah, that's going to affect the DPF. So I wanted them to have a look at it, and they had a look at it, and they said it was 25%. Okay, which is a lot lower than I was expecting, but that's good. So the DPF filters seem to be okay, and I also had them look at the I had a very, very slow coolant leak. I hadn't mentioned it before because it was very slow. So I had them look at it, and they couldn't find it. They just tightened a bunch of cables coming to and from the coolant reservoir. They couldn't find it. I couldn't find it. So it must have just been something very, very slow. So hopefully that fixed it. So that's good. And then we got the B service done as well, and we're good to go. So yeah. So with the DPF looking okay and this vehicle just performing very well, I've decided I'm going to buy it. So there's a buyout option for the night transportation lease purchase contract. So I'm intending to buy it out. So the DPF is good. I haven't found any issues with this vehicle, so I'm looking to buy it out, and I've already contacted a few financing companies to purchase it. So I'm working on that, and yeah, that's exciting news. So looking to buy the vehicle. Everything seems good with it. I can't find any major issues, and yeah, so that was pretty much my goal. One of my goals coming into this was to test drive a vehicle and make sure, I didn't just take it off the lot and, 100 miles down the road, it blows up and then, I got a problem. So by leasing it first and then test driving it, I was able to see if there were any issues like that. And there actually kind of was with the fifth wheel being bent, right? So I got that replaced and that was free. So that's good, and now looking to buy it. DPF is good. I haven't found any major issues with it at all and seems solid. So I'm looking to buy it, and I'll post an update next week. I'm still contacting some financing companies, but yeah, so that's exciting news that looking to buy it. So, but that will do it for this episode. If you are interested in truck driving, there's a link in the pinned comment down below. Just click that link, fill out your information, and a driver recruiter will get a hold of you. And if you are interested in this spreadsheet or any of the other spreadsheets I've done in the past, they are available in the About section. You can click on them, and then you can download them, and then after you download them, you can edit them however you want. So feel free to do so. But thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next episode.